Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for a Monday edition of the Steel City Sports Report, where we talk everything Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates. I am your host, Brady Vini, and hey, I thought it was just going to be a normal Monday. We come in here, we chill out a little bit, talk about everything that happened over the weekend, go over the Pittsburgh Steelers draft class that just happened over the last couple of days. And then boom, 9:30 this morning, we get news that the Penguins and head coach Mike Sullivan have mutually agreed to part ways. We're going to get started with that here in a little bit. Going to talk about any new updates in that whole situation that were not covered during my breaking news live stream this morning. So we're going to get to that. We're going to talk about the Steelers draft class, breaking down who they took and what it will possibly mean for the future of this team. Going to talk about some other moves that the Steelers made, signing some undrafted free agents, releasing some other guys currently on the roster, and then we'll wrap things up talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates going on a 3-3 California road trip and any more news that breaks while we are live here today. If you're new here, I ask that you please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you never miss when I am live again. Also, feel free to like and share this stream and comment in the live chat. I enjoy interacting with you fine folks that comment and want to get your opinions and questions on the screen here, so then we can start a dialogue that way. But first off, we are going to start with the big news topic in the Pittsburgh sports realm today. That is the Pittsburgh Penguins and head coach Mike Sullivan mutually agreeing to part ways. That came around 9:30 this morning. As I said, the Penguins and Sullivan had 1 year left on his contract. Kyle Dubas came out with a statement this morning talking about them going in a different direction. And also, it's not like Sullivan is going to be on the market for long. He is rumored to have some teams interested in him, New York Rangers and Boston Bruins as two of them. I'm sure many, many more. But hey, this is what happens when you go, 7 seasons in a row without getting a playoff win, the last 2 or 3 of which without a playoff appearance. So as much as Sullivan has done for the organization, the time has come for him to part ways. It is just a unfortunate part of, sports, is that you're going to sometimes see franchise icons and those who have helped build dynasties and build winning contending teams and bring championships to a city. Those guys will sometime hit their expiration date. This time it was Mike Sullivan. Like I said, I doubt he's going to be on the market for long. Kevin Weeks, NHL insider, said that Sullivan could become the newest, highest paid coach in the NHL. He was second behind John Cooper of the Tampa Bay Lightning, but you got to expect that teams, seeing the resume that he has, are willing to pay top dollar to get him on their team. This also comes during a time when Fenway Sports Group, the ownership group that owns the Penguins, or at least in recent months, have started to begin to seek a buyer for a minority stake of the team. So should be interesting to see where all of this goes. Now I want to talk about this happened after my breaking news stream this morning on Mike Sullivan getting let go of by the Penguins. Kyle Dubas held a press conference with the Pittsburgh media at around noon today. He began starting off his press conference saying that, quote, Sully left a truly incredible mark on the organization. Sully meant a great deal to many people in this room and many people in this community, and he's left quite the mark on the Penguins organization. And this right here, plug your ears if you are a Mike Tomlin lover for the Pittsburgh Steelers. 2 things can be true: that someone can be a great head coach and it could still be time for a change. That is a statement that lots of Pittsburgh Steelers fans would like one Art Rooney to say about Mike Tomlin. It could be time for a change, and the coach could still be a great coach. That is an absolutely true statement there from Kyle Dubas. This interesting here, Kyle Dubas did say that there were times throughout the season where I thought it might just be time to move on. So Dubas, at certain points, was considering firing Mike Sullivan on the spot and maybe going with an interim for the remainder of the year. Dubas met with Sullivan in Boston yesterday and went through his decisions and went through with this decision. So it wasn't Mike Sullivan getting blindsided. In the same statement, talking about Sullivan getting let go of, he said that assistant coaches Mike Vellucci, Andy Chiodo, and Ty Hennis have also been granted permission to seek other opportunities. Their contracts have expired and they will not be renewed. So he said it is a clean slate for whoever the next head coach will be. Whoever that next head coach will be, it'll take some time to find out. He said there will be a very in-depth and thorough process finding the new Penguins head coach, saying that a new coach will not be expected to be named until June, early June, I think, at the latest. He said that the next coach will need to understand that the Penguins are still in transitioning from the older group that once was a couple of years ago into a younger group, while at the same time trying to get Evgeny Malkin, Sidney Crosby, Chris Letang, Brian Rust, the aging core, one more run at the Cup, saying the style of coach that he wants is, number one, we have to be way more competitive. We have to find more competitive players. We want people who need to become faster. We need to become more talented and skilled. So he wants the new coach to be more of the developmental kind, not necessarily come in and overnight work his magic, turning the Penguins into a Stanley Cup contender. We're not expecting that here, but we're expecting to get a coach that is going to be young, probably around 30 years old. Maybe Dubas said that coaches coming out of Europe and coaches coming out of college will be in consideration for this job, saying we want to protect core ideology of team and continue moving forward. We'll cast a wide net. So looking for a younger coach, probably a first-time coach in the NHL, to come with these young guys coming up from the AHL and grow with them as you would expect. He did say, though, interestingly enough, that current AHL Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins coach Kirk McDonald will not be a part of the process. McDonald was only in his first year as the Baby Pens head coach this past season, so we will not expect him to be getting the Mike Sullivan treatment, coming in, starting with Wilkes-Barre, having some success with young players down there, and then getting hired up into the big leagues with those young players. So expect a coach that you probably have barely heard of or never heard of before, but it has had experience. I've heard names like Jay Pandolfo and David Carl from college ranks and all that. So we will expect a new face to the NHL to be the Penguins' next head coach. Most likely, you won't see any retreads like a John Tortorella, which, more and more I think about it, would probably be a disaster, like Torts coaching Team USA, but not the Pittsburgh Penguins. You won't see like a Joel Quenneville, a Jay Woodcroft. I don't think you'll see Sheldon Keefe, who's the current head coach for the New Jersey Devils, if he gets let go of there. Keefe was the head coach of the Leafs at the end of Dubas's tenure up in Toronto, and you won't see Rick Tocchet either, former Penguins player and coach. Moving on here, talking about this firing, not going to say it's a firing, even though we kind of all can expect that it is that. We are calling it a mutual parting of ways, though from a part I'm going to get to here in a minute, it sounded like this was Dubas's call first and foremost. Dubas said that in the decision to move on from Mike Sullivan, that he did talk with Sidney Crosby. Crosby was actually at the UPMC Lemieux Sports Complex this morning skating again. Dubas talked about Crosby and how he feels about the coaching change. He said, I called Sid on Sunday morning to give him a heads up. I had a 5-minute conversation with him. I have to do what's best for the organization. Little bit later, Dubas was also asked if he was concerned about Crosby, having a good, tight relationship with Mike Sullivan, if that might be a factor or a force of him wanting to leave potentially. Dubas quickly answered with a one-word answer there. No, that is pretty simple there. I think we all right now, I know the question needs to be asked if you're a reporter in that room, but still, I think Crosby has been overly adamant at this point that, hey, I want to finish my career here in Pittsburgh, and he is a guy who respects legacy and who wants to be a one jersey guy. So pretty foolish question there. Freaking Mark Madden also asked a similar question and then cut Kyle off while he was answering. Mark Madden, he doesn't know the difference between his ass and a hole in the ground. But Dubas, not worried about Crosby. I don't think any of us should be worried about Crosby leaving after Sullivan's departure here. Next, Dubas did say near the end of his press conference, this was actually one of the last things that he said. There was a report, well, not report, but it was said this morning on 93.7 The Fan from various hosts and radio talk personalities on there that Sullivan went and met with Kyle Dubas and that he had a list of non-negotiable demands. Dubas then, whether those non-negotiable demands are true or not, got ahead of it, saying that it was untrue. Now, it's up to you whether to believe whether that is the case. Dubas completely saying that those were false, but if those were false, then why would Sullivan and the team reach a mutual departure like this? So it's up to you to believe whether that's true or not. I think that, that's a smaller case of why Sullivan has decided to leave. I think he, maybe gave demands to make the Penguins open more to letting him go so then he can go pursue opportunities elsewhere with more championship contending ready teams. But again, just wrapping this whole thing up here, I think this was Kyle Dubas and his decision. It's now his team. Since Kyle got hired here, we've all been saying that, is there going to be some sort of power struggle between Kyle Dubas and Mike Sullivan, who's going to win, wanting what more? I think we found out today that is going to be Dubas from here on out. It is going to be his team. I think he's going to be one of the lead guys, if not the final decision maker on who gets hired for the coaching job. So now most of the blame and most of the responsibilities of how the Pittsburgh Penguins perform over the next couple of years will rely solely on the shoulders of Kyle Dubas. Will say again that, I respect Sullivan, and on behalf of all Penguins fans, we've seen these tributes pour in today, even though this was a sour end. Sullivan, for almost a decade, he for over a decade, or exactly a decade, yeah, he took over midway through the season in 2015, won over 400 games, two-time Stanley Cup champion. He's the all-time wins leader for coaches in Penguins franchise history. Head coached Team USA in the Four Nations face-off, and he'll be the head coach of the U.S. men's team in the Olympics here in 2026. But at the same time, this was needed. 3 first-round exits and 4 first-round exits, actually, because you got to count in the COVID playoffs there, where it was like a 3-game series, and then the last 3 years missing the playoffs. So this was much needed. We thank Sullivan for his contributions to the team. We wouldn't have won those 2 cups without him, wouldn't have even been close. Was one of the best coaches there for a while, was the best coach when he first took over, but it has since been time to move on. So wish nothing but Mike the best in his future, probably going to go to the Rangers, and we'll see him 4 times a year because that's how these things go. If not, maybe he goes to like another big market like Boston, Edmonton, if they can, their coach, if they lose in the first round. So thank you, Sully. But now we're going to move on to hopefully a bigger and brighter future for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And speaking of bigger and brighter futures, let's talk about what happened this past weekend. So Thursday through Saturday, the NFL draft took place in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I am here to talk about how things have gone for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it was an overall successful draft. You can agree or disagree with me. I'm interested to see what your guys' thoughts are in the comments below. Let's start real quick with how the Steelers did on Thursday night. Thursday night rolls around. First round pick 21. They pass on 2 quarterbacks, Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart. They pass on a pretty good corner in my book in Will Johnson from Michigan. And they take defensive tackle Derek Harmon from Oregon. So Harmon, 6'5", 310 pounds. Dude is being compared to Cam Hayward in terms of body style and how he tested coming out of the draft. I think that it will be a great fit for him in the system, the same system that the Steelers ran out at Oregon on defense. You saw Harmon's production greatly improve when he transferred from Michigan State to Oregon, and now he gets to come to the Steelers, where hopefully he gets to continue that. I think it was around 55 quarterback pressures just last year, and so he has a knack of getting to the backfield and getting after the quarterback, and you can't help but root for this guy. I think by now all of you watching know about Derek Harmon and the story of his mother. I believe his mother's name is Tiffany. She suffered a stroke when he was in high school, and she was on life support the night he got drafted. He got drafted by the Steelers, did his phone call with Art Rooney, Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, all the Steelers organization, and then an over-the-phone Steelers interview with the media. Left immediately from that, went and saw his mother, told her that he got drafted and that he was a Steeler, and then unfortunately she passed away soon after. So condolences still to Derek Harmon and his family in this time of sorrow. Moving on here, Friday night, Steelers had just 1 pick. Great use of their second round pick to get DK Metcalf, but they had to wait all the way till pick 83. They did not pick a quarterback then either. Shedeur Sanders was still on the board. They passed on him again, and they went with one of my favorite picks in this draft class. They got Caleb Johnson, running back from Iowa, ran for over 1,500 yards this past season, a whopping 6.4 yards per carry, 23 total touchdowns, was a second-team AP All-American and first-team All-Big Ten, 6'1", 225 pounds. People say that he's a Najee Harris 2.0. I don't see it. I think he is better. Honestly, last year you had to divide the labor between Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, Najee being the Thunder, Warren being the Lightning. My opinion, Caleb Johnson could be both. He ran in a zone scheme at Iowa, same type of zone run scheme that Arthur Smith likes to run with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. I think he's going to fit in well. Models his game after Le'Veon Bell, so Steelers fans are going to be happy at that. And I think even though Jaylen Warren has been said to be the number 1 running back right now, I don't think you're going to need to wait too long before you start seeing Caleb Johnson out snapping Jaylen Warren. Now move on to day 3, probably my favorite day of the draft in terms of the players that the Pittsburgh Steelers brought in. With the 123rd pick, they brought in an absolute dog from Ohio State, edge rusher Jack Sawyer. Dude is getting comped to TJ Watt in terms of body build and and motor, made one of the biggest plays of the college football year in the semifinals against Texas, strip sacked Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers and ran it back for a touchdown. Great pick there, not in terms of filling a need, but in terms of getting that type of player at the spot that you got him. Sawyer, of course, a fiery competitor. I'm watching right now a video of him from the Michigan State-Ohio State brawl when he's ripped down the Michigan flag from them planted it in the middle of Buckeye Field. Had 4.5 sacks during the Ohio State playoff run, so you know he is a big game, big pressure situation player. And getting to know him a bit more in some of the calls that he did, he said that he's able to get to the quarterback at a high level and that he is excited to get to work with the Steelers. As a matter of fact, if you've seen the video of him getting drafted, I believe you can hear his father or one member of his family saying that that is the place that you always wanted to go. So great to see him going to get in the black and gold. His grandpa also was once a minor league baseball player for the Pirates. Shout out Alex Kozora from Steelers Depot for putting that stat up there. In the 5th round there, pick 156, the Steelers went back to the defensive line. They took Y.A. Black, found out that his name is not Yaha, it is Y.A., even with a spelling that reads Yaha. He is 6'6", 340 pounds. He's going to be a middle of the defensive line, not necessarily get to the backfield and sack the quarterback every time, but he is going to be a guy that just eats up blocks and sits there and stops the run. I absolutely love that pick. It was my dream scenario to go into this draft for the Steelers, for them to get 2 defensive linemen, one guy who is a tiny bit lighter to, stick and move and get to the quarterback, and one just big body in the middle of that defensive line that can stop the run. Just looking at the highlights of this dude, he throws his weight around very, very well. He's hyped up to come to the Steelers, and Mike Tomlin talking about Y.A. Black after they drafted him, saying he's stout against the run. You can always use a skill set like that. Said that he is like an F-350 in the middle of that defensive line. That is a hell of a comparison. Mike Tomlin was also on NFL Network later in the draft that day, and he talked about Derek Harmon, the 1st round pick, saying that he is doing remarkably well in the wake of his mother's passing in terms of coping. And that's another thing, too, of why I think Derek Harmon is a good fit for the Steelers. He's going to a team with Cam Hayward, and of course, Cam had his dad pass away right before he went into college. So at least Derek Harmon will have someone who has been through a similar situation to lean on in this time. Then round number 6, the best pick in the draft, in my opinion, the Steelers, they doubled down on Ohio State Buckeyes. They doubled down on high talent in the middle rounds, and they doubled down on getting a national champion. They took quarterback Will Howard from the Ohio State. Howard led the Buckeyes to the national championship, had a so-so, start to the season, had one boneheaded play really that cost his team a win against the Oregon Ducks, who went undefeated in the regular season. But once playoffs began, Will Howard turned into a completely and totally different beast, was slinging the ball all over the yard, dicing up defenses. He's got a good deep ball, good accuracy. Just watching some of these throws are in a bucket. They're on the body of the wide receiver, really all my guy or nothing at all throws for him. Going back to the pre-draft process, he met with the Steelers before Ohio State's pro day. I believe might have had dinner with Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan, said that he would like to go to the Steelers in the pre-draft process. Of course, he is a Downingtown, PA native that is out in between Philadelphia and Lancaster. So glad that he is going to be staying in the States. From the moment I met Coach Tomlin, I was like, man, this is the guy I want to play for, is what Will Howard said on his conference call with Steelers reporters. He said, I don't, in terms of maybe waiting behind a quarterback like an Aaron Rodgers, we'll talk about that here in a minute. He said that I don't do things half in, I go all in, and I have every expectation that this next step with the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to be amazing for me. Also said that all he needs is a chance to get on the field, and then he will take the bull by the horns there. So mentality is there. Also, the body is there, right, as well. Will Howard weighed in at 6'4", 236 pounds at the combine, getting body comparisons to Big Ben Roethlisberger, who was 6'5", 241. And also, if you haven't watched it already, you go watch the John Gruden quarterback class that he did with Will Howard. Said that he is surprised Will Howard did not go earlier in the draft, said he was his number one QB in this class, and that he is built and moves is a true dual threat quarterback like Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. So listening to all that, just seeing that he is a humble guy, watching his the video of him hearing that he's getting drafted. He's a humble guy. He's got that competitive team first mindset. He's a good leader on and off the field. Good arm and accuracy, can also be a dual threat. I think he's broken off like 5 50-plus runs in his collegiate career. I might be wrong on that, but still, though, everything that you want in a quarterback, Will Howard, I believe, has that. Just hoping that he will get the chance to prove that in the black and gold. Best part about this is that I believe he was asked on ESPN that if he could bring one Buckeye teammate with him to whatever team drafted him in the NFL, he said Jack Sawyer. You've been seeing the videos of him hyping up Sawyer after that big strip sack return for a touchdown. So looks like you got the two best friends, the two leaders on the national championship winning Ohio State Buckeyes in the black and gold. How can you not be excited about that? Howard also said, I think 100% the right team picked me when asked how he felt about the Steelers taking him. So you got to love that pick. Steelers then had they had 2 picks in the 7th round here. I lied earlier when I said Yaha Black was the 156th overall pick. He was actually 164. The Steelers traded back, and they got an extra 7th round pick from the Kansas City Chiefs. With the first of those extra 7th round picks, they took linebacker Carson Bruner from Washington. He is the son of former Steelers tight end Mark Bruner, who was taken in the 1st round by the black and gold 30 years ago. So Steelers, it wouldn't be a Steelers draft if they didn't make that nostalgia bloodline pickup. They love getting players of former Steelers contributors. So Carson Bruner there, middle linebacker. Dude was a tackle machine in college, had over 100 total tackles last year with the Washington Huskies. Also has got a knack for getting his hands on the ball. He was one of the better coverage linebackers in college last year. I think he had 3 interceptions. So you like seeing that. I think he's going to carve out a nice niche for himself on special teams. The second of the 7th round picks, Steelers took corner Dante Kent from Central Michigan. I think the last player that the Steelers took from Central Michigan, at least at the very beginning, turned out pretty well. That, of course, being Antonio Brown. But Dante Kent, I believe he had near a college high 45 pass breakups last year. That means he had the ball thrown on him a lot. He gave up the most big plays in college, but I don't think he'll be called on a whole lot to be on defense. If he does, he brings some slot capability there to push Beanie Bishop, who is currently in that spot. But otherwise, a good draft. Those 2 7th round picks, Danny Smith, Steelers special teams coordinator. Pretty sure that those 2 picks were solely on them, but overall, give the Steelers grade in A-. You addressed the defensive line, which was your biggest need going into the draft. You got my 3rd best defensive lineman in this draft in Derek Harmon, and then you also got my other wish, which was a big 340-pound defensive lineman. So you cleared checked off those 2 boxes right there. You got my 5th best running back in this draft class in Caleb Johnson, who is the perfect balance between Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. Like that pickup a whole lot. You got probably another sound defender who's going to be a starter for you here in a couple of years in Jack Sawyer. Wasn't your biggest need, but when you can get a player of that caliber in the 4th round, you take your swing. Got what possibly could be, a long-term quarterback with you, whether that's a starter or a backup. That's for Will Howard to decide with how he plays on the field, if he gets on the field. Hopefully he does and shows off the talent that I think most of us can see that he has. And then in the 4th round, you got 2 solid special teamers, one in Carson Bruner, who might be a long-term option for you there, and a hell of a good one at that. So interested to see what you guys thought about the Steelers draft class, what grade you gave on it. I do want to now cover this. So after the draft, Steelers bringing in collegiate players did not stop there. They got to work signing some undrafted free agents. 2 that I really like here are right at the top. They were 2 of the first signings to happen. I said that the Steelers would probably need to get another defensive back and a wide receiver in this draft class. They didn't draft one, but they got 2 great ones as undrafted free agents. The first one, wide receiver Rock Taylor from Memphis. He is 6'3", 250 pounds. The Steelers, with all of their pre-draft interviews and meetings, you could tell just by the list of names that was getting reported that they wanted to get another big body wide receiver, at least 6'3", over 210 pounds. They got that here in Taylor. He had 950 yards and 2 touchdowns on 66 receptions last year with the Memphis Tigers. So a great pickup there. Had in his college, or in the past 2 years, 135 catches, over 2,000 yards receiving, and 6 touchdowns. So maybe a sleeper pick there to make the team as your 5th or 6th wide receiver. I wouldn't put that by the Steelers. I'm not dismissing that. Also, the second of the undrafted free agents that the Steelers took was safety Sebastian Castro, also from Iowa. Steelers apparently love their Iowa defensive prospects. I watched this dude in the Senior Bowl. He lit it up there. He's not going to be the most uber athletic guy out on the field. I believe he only ran like a 4.6, 4.7 40, something like that. But he is an all-around football player. Had 57 tackles and 1 interception last year for the Hawkeyes. He can play safety. He can play nickel. So he's got positional versatility. Like I said, probably not going to be the guy to beat the whole entire team in a foot race, but he is a damn good football player, and I'm expecting Castro and Taylor to be seen a lot in the preseason, and keep an eye on them as possible sleeper candidates as undrafted free agents to make the team. Some other signings that the Steelers made, some that I don't know too much about. Steelers signed defensive Division II Minnesota Duluth guard Aiden Williams. He is 6'6", 295 pounds from Anchorage, Alaska, so they got some offensive line depth there. They also signed 2 tight ends. They signed tight end DJ Thomas Jones from South Alabama, and they signed tight end JJ Galbraith from South Dakota. Galbraith, this from Steelers Update, a 4.61 40-yard dash, had 32 catches for 469 yards and 4 touchdowns last year. One of my favorite undrafted free agent signees, just because I'm a Pitt homer. That's my alma mater. Pittsburgh Steelers did sign lefty undrafted free agent kicker Ben Sauls. The Pitt alum gets to stay in Pittsburgh. I'm excited for that. I am completely and totally shocked. I think it was 2 or 3 different kickers that got drafted. I am dumbfounded that Ben Sauls wasn't one of them. He was one of the best kickers in college last year. I believe he actually holds the record for longest kick made in Heinz Field. So glad to have Ben Sauls, even if you can just maybe hide him on the practice squad. He's not going to overtake Chris Boswell. Boz is the best kicker in the NFL right now, but Ben Sauls, he is that good. I hope that teams completely forgot that he existed or don't find out about him and turn on his tape, because he's not going to make the Steelers team, but I hope he will remain on the practice squad. And God forbid Boswell gets hurt, you can put him in there and have little drop off in that department. Or maybe, you never know what's going on with someone. Maybe if Boswell, takes a dip in production the next couple of years and the Steelers either let him go or he retires, Ben Sauls can come in there and take over. I would love that. Catching up on a few more recent signings here to the for undrafted free agents. Keyshawn Williams from Indiana, wide receiver. He was another undrafted free agent signee. Of course, Indiana, they had a pretty surprising 2024 college football season. They opened up a lot of eyes. Another one here, or these aren't undrafted free agent signings, but they are, well, this one is, we got one more undrafted free agent signing and two rookie camp invites. Defensive end Blake Mangelson from BYU. He signed an undrafted free agent deal with the Steelers. He was originally going to go to the rookie minicamp for the Minnesota Vikings and then signed with the Steelers. 37 total tackles, 2 sacks, and 1 interception in 2024. And then the Steelers added two rookie camp invites. That is wide receiver Tommy Smith from Rhode Island and Notre Dame corner Max Hurlman. So those two get invited to rookie camp at least. No deal signed with them, but overall give the Steelers a minus in the draft, and I love a handful of their undrafted free agent signings. Rock Taylor, Sebastian Castro, Ben Sauls. Those are my top 3 in that department. So love it. Interested to see what you guys think about it. And while I'm on the Steelers topic here, I'm going to switch over to here as well. The Steelers signing Mangelson and signing those, or inviting those two rookies to their rookie mini camp. Steelers were busy today. They released 2 players. Those players, Montravius Adams, defensive tackle who's been here for a while, and safety Ryan Watts. Going to hit on both of those briefly. So Montravius Adams, he's been a nose tackle for the Steelers for the past couple of years, number 57. He was actually scheduled to make over $3 million against the cap this year by cutting him after they drafted Yaha Black and Derek Harmon to pair with Cam Hayward and Keanu Benton. Adams getting cut isn't too much of a surprise. The Steelers actually save $2.25 million by doing this. I hope he does well elsewhere. Hoping that he does well elsewhere. Seemed like a good guy, just got pushed out by younger talent. As for Ryan Watts, this is very upsetting to hear today. The Steelers are cutting him. He was the 2024 6th round pick. Ryan Watts, safety out of Texas. They are cutting him today due to medical reasons. Last preseason, last year, I believe it was the last game, actually, he suffered a neck injury and was taken out of the game. Now the Steelers doctors, Omar Khan, met with him, and they said that it is in Ryan Watts' best interest for him to medically retire from football. So the Steelers have released Ryan Watts, but they, in a statement from Omar Khan, said that they will continue to assist and support Ryan as he transitions into the next phase of life. Watts was just 23 years old. He was like 6'2" or 6'3". Would have loved to see him on the Steelers special teams unit last year. So hopefully he bounces back from, him not giving up on his dream, but his dream giving up on him. So hope for a speedy recovery for Ryan Watson. I hope that things turn out for the better for him moving forward. Jonathan Harvey in the comments, Montravius Adams, not a surprise. Watts had to retire with neck issues. Yeah, just Adams, good guy. Watts sucks for him. Just like I said, 23 years old. He didn't even make it to the regular season last year, so he didn't even get to play in one real NFL game. That is very, very unfortunate for him. So hopefully everything will be all right for him moving forward. Going to transition here to the last thing that I have for today. One of the last main segments is the Pittsburgh Pirates going 3-3 on their road trip. So they took 2 of 3 against the Los Angeles Angels in the first series of this 2-series road trip. They won on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then they lost on Thursday. And then over the weekend, they won Friday night against the LA Dodgers. Paul Skeens had the bump in that one, I believe. Skeens, he here went 6 1/3 innings pitched, only gave up 5 hits and 9 strikeouts. Really dominated. I mean, I was like half watching the game. I had the draft on my TV here. I had the Pirate game on a smaller screen down here, and Skeens looked like he was just, a cat playing with a bunch of mice there, making the Dodgers look silly. Bucks ended up winning that game. Next night, it was Mitch Keller on the bump for the Pens. O'Neal Cruz, another leadoff home run. O'Neal Cruz really over this road trip, from what I've seen, he has, I think, maybe unlocked that last bit of potential to push him over the edge into full-blown superstardom. I hope that's the case. Seems that he has settled down a little bit in center field. You haven't seen him making as many mental errors or drops as he did early on this season. So that's great to see for O'Neal Cruz. What is not great to see is that Colin Holderman, he was put into the ball game in the 8th inning, and he, wouldn't you know it, gave up a lead changing home run. He was reinstated from the 15-day IL earlier that day, and got put in a high leverage situation by Derek Shelton, of course, gave up a home run, and that was the end of that game. I think the wheels fell off out after that. The Dodgers, I think, scored like 4 runs in that 8th inning. So just a terrible situation again, a game by one decision from this manager who doesn't know what he's doing or how to manage the talent around him and use it correctly. Puts Holderman in. Holderman gets shelled, and now we're back to square one with him after the whole IR stint. Then game 3 of the series last night, I'm going to be honest, Bailey Falter was on the mound. Bailey Falter looked really, really bad. His position and spot in this rotation is getting more and more questionable by the start for him. He got shelled, and it was a point of no return for the Bucks. They lost 9-2 last night, so an absolute gong show there that really didn't need to be experienced. Wish the draft would have been on Sunday night. I would have been more entertained watching that than sitting down and watching the Bucks in full. Jonathan Harvey, Paul Skeens is such a gem. Unfortunately, he is a diamond ring in the middle of a landfill right now. You hope that, you can get some help around him, but nothing's going to change until Derek Shelton and Ben Cherington are gone and until Bob Nutting sells the team. I'm getting winded and tired of saying the same thing over and over again, but that's the honest to God truth, that you're watching this one-of-a-kind, generational, franchise-changing talent get wasted away. He can go out there. You're relying on him. You expect the Bucks to win, every fifth day when he pitches. Other than that, expectations are extremely, extremely low for this team. This road trip really was the worst case scenario at 3-3, because the idea was that if you bottom out, say you go, 1-6, or 1-5, or you get swept on this road trip, then maybe you have hope that there's going to be real change, like Derek Shelton gets fired. Or the best case scenario is that you would have won and maybe dug yourself out of that, what was it, 7-15 start that you were in. But no, you're still middle of the road. You had a 500 road trip, and that's going to buy Derek Shelton like another month, probably. So just frustrating. The Bucks with Paul Skeens, they are at best at their highest potential middle of the road when they aren't a complete and total dumpster fire. Just absolutely terrible and frustrating, John. And Paul Skeens is a gem. Real quick, just going to hit on some other notes here. Not too much loose notes today. First off, right here, ESPN was reporting earlier today. Well, this was yesterday, that the Dallas Cowboys were in contact, confirmed to be in contact with the Pittsburgh Steelers about George Pickens, but Omar Khan stood his ground. If he would have offloaded Pickens, I would have been okay with it, but for the right price, and he had that right price in mind. The Steelers reportedly wanted at the least a second round pick back for Pickens. I think that's the right call, because if you trade away Pickens, most likely you're drafting his replacement in the draft a couple of days ago. And by that point, you're most likely not going to get a player that can do the things he does on the field. So that's all right with me that they held on to him. Interested to see how he will do with DK Metcalf getting more of the attention than he does. I think Pickens can thrive in this situation and get a nice bag for himself, whether that's here or elsewhere next year. Also going to have, I think, a decent quarterback throwing him the ball. Mason Rudolph has been shown last time he was in Pittsburgh to get the ball to his main targets early and often. Aaron Rodgers, if he ends up signing here, he'll throw the ball to Pickens. Will Howard, I think he's a big game player. He's going to figure out, hey, I got these two behemoths on the outside. They're at least 6'3" going up against 5'10", 5'11" corners. Let me put the ball up for them to go get. So Pickens will have a great opportunity ahead of him this year. He just needs to keep his head on straight. And also, speaking of Aaron Rodgers, who I just mentioned his name a little bit ago, Ian Rappaport was on the Pat McAfee show today. He still thinks that Aaron Rodgers is coming to Pittsburgh. I think we all can, come to that conclusion at this point, that he will eventually sign with the Steelers. Steelers didn't take a quarterback high in the draft. They had the opportunity to do so with Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders, Jalen Milroe. The opportunity was there not just once, but twice for Milroe. It was there once for Dart, and it was there multiple times for Shedeur Sanders, and they declined it. So they must have a good feeling, or at least an under-the-table understanding that Rodgers will be coming to the Steelers. So we just need to wait and see now when that will be. It's really the last thing that we're waiting for. Wouldn't it have been something if that would have happened today? On the day the Penguins fire head coach Mike Sullivan, would have been something if Aaron Rodgers comes to a decision that would have been more surprising than Sullivan getting fired. Another thing would have been if the Pirates would have moved on from Ben Cherington or Derek Shelton or both. Those are the only two things that could have topped Mike Sullivan getting let go of here today. So, wild day. That's pretty much all the loose stories that I had there. Rappaport saying that Rodgers is coming to believing that Rodgers is coming to Pittsburgh. No surprise there. No out-of-the-box opinion or idea there. And that the Steelers restricted field calls on George Pickens from the Dallas Cowboys, but held on to him, making a steep price of a second-round pick needed in return for George. Interested to see what you guys think about it. Going to quickly go through Twitter here, see if we have anything new, and we actually do have a bit of news here and some happy news. Okay, not too sports related, but it's something going on with the Pittsburgh Penguin. Congratulations to Penguins forward Rickard Rakell, who just welcomed a son into the world. Also, congratulations to Tristan Jarry. I think he just became a dad not too long ago. Ziggy Steele is the name of Rakell's son. I like those two names, Ziggy and Steele. That is awesome. And we do got some breaking news here. Hang on. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they got another wide receiver in the fold. This from Jordan Schultz of Fox Sports. The Pittsburgh Steelers have signed wide receiver Robert Woods to a one-year contract. So after the draft, that maybe tells you right there, I think Robert Woods, he's a big body. That maybe there tells you that they were looking to take a big body wide receiver in the draft, and they aren't done adding yet. So Robert Woods, the veteran, I believe he's at least 30 years old. He signs with the Steelers. There's some breaking news right there, ladies and gentlemen. Steelers not done adding wide receivers. Right there it is. Wide receiver Robert Woods is signing with the Steelers, a one-year deal. It is a one-year, $2 million deal per Ian Rappaport. Last season, Robert Woods, 86 catches. Hold up here. Let me look up his. Let me get his Pro Football profile here. Hang on. There you go. Let's go here. Robert Woods. So on Pro Football Reference here, Robert Woods, 33 years old, 6 foot tall, 193 pounds. Thought he was a little bigger than that. Last year, 20 receptions for 203 yards, had no touchdowns. I believe he was with the Houston Texans. Yes, he was. In his career, 683 receptions for 8,233 yards and 38 touchdowns. So I will take it. That is kind of a move that we've seen the Steelers make a bunch in recent off seasons past. 2 years ago, it was Allen Robinson. That didn't really pan out. Last year, it was Van Jefferson, who was the 30-plus-year-old veteran wide receiver. And this year, it is Robert Woods. And he is a guy that has been linked to the Steelers before. A one-year, $2 million deal. And interesting to see where he fits in that, if he'll make the team. You got 4 bona fide or solidified wide receivers on the team: Pickens, Metcalf, Calvin Austin, and Roman Wilson. So looks like we are going to have one hell of a 4-way competition in Latrobe to see who will make that 5th and 6th wide receiver spot. You already re-signed Scotty Miller and Ben Skoranek earlier this offseason. You just signed Rock Taylor to a undrafted free agent contract, and now you bring in Robert Woods. So a veteran for that room. If I had to guess, he'll probably make it. Steelers love having that veteran in that room. I think if you stick DK Metcalf at 27 years old, I think he's the oldest wide receiver in the room right now who's guaranteed to make the team. So Robert Woods joining the Steelers, a 1-year, $2 million deal. I can live with it. At least it's not a situation like years past where you're getting, Allen Robinson, you're expecting him to be your solidified number 3 wide receiver, or last year when you had Van Jefferson as your number 2 for most of the year. This is Robert Woods. This is him probably just, occasionally getting on the field, a savvy veteran who, knows the ins and outs of the game, knows what he can get away with, maybe gets a couple catches here and there to spell some guys. So I like it. And also, I don't doubt that part of this deal is, hey, you are going to be a nice babysitter for George Pickens if he decides to blow up. So Robert Woods joining the Steelers, 1 year, $2 million. I can live with it. 33 years old. Babysit George Pickens will be your first role. And then go out on the field, catch a couple passes when GP or Metcalf aren't on the field. Alan Saunders from Pittsburgh Steelers now. Steelers needing a big slot or Z wide receiver body type. Woods also a solid blocker. So help out in the run game too. He'll be your run blocker just like Van Jefferson. I like it. Interested to see what you guys think about that. Number 17 with the Rams, number 2 with the Texans. I think 17 is still available. So, all right. We'll take it. Steelers do indeed add a veteran receiver. And with that, not seeing anything else, so I'm going to log off after that. On that breaking news, the Steelers agreeing to terms with Robert Woods on a 1-year, $2 million contract. Steelers signed a bunch of undrafted free agents in the past 48 hours. They released 2 players. Also, I did not hit on this one. Offensive consultant and assistant Mike Sullivan, who was at one time the quarterback's coach, and then at another time after Matt Canada got fired, was a part-time offensive coordinator with running back coach Eddie Faulkner. So he is no longer gone, and it was a bad day today to be named Mike Sullivan in the city of Pittsburgh. So Steelers released 2 players, keep signing undrafted free agents, have now signed Robert Woods, had a hell of a draft. Pittsburgh Pirates off tonight. Probably going to disappoint again in the next series. I believe the probable starters are Andrew Heaney, followed by Carmen Majinski, and then back to the top of the rotation with Paul Skeens on Thursday. So off tonight, back at it tomorrow. And the Pittsburgh Penguins with the big story of the day, Mike Sullivan, head coach for the past 9 years, 2-time Stanley Cup champion, most wins in Penguins history, the best coach in Pittsburgh Penguins history, shown the door here on April 28th, 2025. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me here tonight. Thank you so much for joining me on last Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for NFL draft coverage. I'm going to work on, at some point within the next 24 hours, getting out a video on my reaction to all of the Steelers draft picks. Hope you check that out when I get that out there. With that, we'll be back here tomorrow around the same time for some more Pittsburgh sports news. Hope you join me then. Like, share, and comment on this live stream. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and turn on notifications so that you never miss when I am live. I appreciate you all for joining in. I appreciate you, Jonathan, for commenting in the chat. And I will see you guys back here tomorrow. Have a good rest of your Monday night. Peace, and I will see you later.